Good evening, Woodruff Wolverine fans, and welcome to week 3 of the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. Coach Brett Sloan will be here with us shortly. Our first guest up tonight, Mr. Rixon Lane, former, I don't want to say former, but alumni of Woodruff High School, and we can say former Woodruff Wolverine football player. How about that? Does that work?
You could say that. I mean, technically, you are right. Yeah, in the most literal sense of the word, you are correct.
All right. Rixon, thanks so much for joining us tonight on the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. For those of you who don't know, Rixon is living in Loris, South Carolina, I believe is your exact address now, right?
Correct.
Yeah, back in the state of South Carolina. Still doing sports stuff. Rixon has launched his own podcast called Believe in South Carolina, kind of focusing mainly on the South Carolina Gamecocks. Is that right, Rixon?
Yeah, primarily we dabble in a couple, in college football in general, but yeah, mostly focused on Carolina.
Gotcha. Um, Rixon has just recently. I asked Rixon about this before we started, just to be sure that it was cool to say this. But for those of you who live in Woodruff and you're familiar with Project Hope Foundation, Rixon has recently taken a job with Project Hope. Rixon, I know this is something that's near and dear to your heart. I don't know if you want to share just for a couple of minutes about, what Project Hope means to you guys and being able to be a part of their staff now.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people that aren't familiar, Project Hope Foundation is a nonprofit that my mother started in I guess it would be 1998, I believe, or maybe may have been earlier than that, maybe 97. But essentially, it focuses on providing services for kids and young adults that are diagnosed with autism. My younger brother Colby was diagnosed with autism when he was 18 months old, so I would have been about I don't know, 2.5, 3, something like that. I think closer to 4 at that point. When he was diagnosed, the rate of autism was 1 in 10,000. The rate now, I think, is 1 in 31. So it's an epidemic, and it's something that there's so many families, not only in South Carolina but across the country, that are getting this life changing and what feels like a life shattering diagnosis every day. And what Project Hope Foundation does is it provides services for those kids that need help, that they're going to need, whether it's working on communication skills, whether it's working on motor skills, whether it's working on social skills. It's the whole range. Autism affects everyone differently, but it's something that is affecting everyone. Everyone, I guarantee everyone that's listening and watching right now has a family member, has a connection that has been impacted by autism, and what Project Hope Foundation has done in the last almost 30 years is remarkable. From being in a little tiny church over in Simpsonville and serving about 8 kids, to now there's 9 campuses across the state of South Carolina. It's the largest provider of autism services, I think, in the southeastern United States. So,
Mm-hmm.
really, really proud to see what my mom and the people that work with her have done, and proud to get to be a small part of it now.
Yeah, man. Every time I think about or do work with Project Hope, it literally blows my mind that, Woodruff, South Carolina is kind of the hub of where it kind of all started. And you take a look at how it's expanded. I know, let's see, it's been 2 weeks ago now. Your mom and Kaylin Partlow were at the studio filming a podcast production for a podcast that's based out of Philadelphia. So that the reach that Project Hope has had over the entire United States, based out of little old Woodruff, South Carolina. It makes me proud. I know it makes you proud to be a part of it, and specifically the services that they provide has been just invaluable to tons of families, not only locally but continuing to make an impact, across the United States. It's pretty incredible to have seen how it's grown over the years.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So if anybody out there that is curious about the services, wanting to join up and be a part of it, or maybe you're one of those families that got those diagnoses, go to projecthopesc.org, and all the information is there. All the locations, all the campuses are there. You can read a lot more about what we're doing, and yeah, just like I said, it's life changing work, and it's becoming more and more important every day. So we're very fortunate that, like you said, Woodruff, South Carolina is where it all started, and because it started in Woodruff, there's a lot of families across the country who are better off now. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty very very awesome. Well, man, let's talk a little football.
Yeah.
Mentioned earlier that you had kind of started your Believe podcast, and what I remember and know of you a ton is, like, I think I've told you this before, but I was like, I always felt like Rixon, we're going to see him on TV doing commentary or color or something like that. And maybe you still have aspirations of doing that one day, but I do like you in the podcast environment. It makes a ton of sense. You've got a ton of experience coming out of the University of South Carolina. Having a couple of different college jobs, to be able to see sort of the inside workings of how college football works at that level. Let's talk a little bit first about kind of your experience coming out of the University of South Carolina and being able to work on the college football level. What kind of insight did you gain by being able to see from that side of the business, so to speak?
Yeah, it's really eye opening to have a sport that you followed and loved your whole life, and then you actually get to work in it. You learn a lot. You get to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and really the biggest thing that I took away from it, from working, over 2 years in Eastern Kentucky and a little over a year at Coastal Carolina, is just how many people make that operation go. I mean, there are so many people that the average fan, if you just follow whatever your team is, you don't think about, the director of operations who's having to call and set the hotels up, make sure that everybody's got food for every game, make sure the planes are booked, make sure the buses are taken care of. At Eastern Kentucky, that was one guy, is Thomas Bowling, who's now doing that job at Nebraska, and having a really good run over there. At Coastal Carolina, it's a whole team of people that work on that and try to take care of that. So seeing those people behind the scenes and getting to understand how much of a role they play is really cool. And then it's cool to get to work with. My favorite part of working in college athletics was working with kids and getting to be around these guys who are built like grown men, and you get around them and go, oh man, you're 18. Like you got guys that are coming up and talking, that still, they've never been on a plane before. You're riding with them. They've never been in a plane. They've never been to another time zone before. They're experiencing all this stuff for the first time. They've never done a press conference before. So getting to be a part of that with them is really cool. And obviously, my favorite part of it was, every Saturday, I'm at some point every Saturday I was on the sidelines of the college football stadium, which is just a really cool experience. And get, I've been joking with people. This is my first fall in 4 years where I've not been working a game to open the year. So it's taking some getting used to, but my schedule's a lot better now. That's for sure.
Right. You probably freed up a little bit to watch more
Absolutely,
games on a Saturday.
absolutely.
Well, let's, Rickson, I know that, uh, you definitely have a love for Woodruff Wolverine football and a passion for that. And I know you've been following the team this year, from the East Coast over here of South Carolina. Um, tell us a little bit of your thoughts of what you've been able to see so far with the Woodruff Wolverines. Give us your third party assessment of what you've been able to see happen so far this season.
I mean, incredibly impressed so far. I mean, I know it's a two-game sample, but the thing that I think I've been the most impressed with is the culture that looks like that Coach Sloan has instilled in that program, and seeing kind of the incremental gains that they've been making really since he got there in 2023. And I think for me, the thing that stands out the most. I mean, obviously we know this team's got talent. I mean, you look at Aiden Gibson, and you look at guys like Corey Motes, and even Connor Davis, who's two career starts in and has looked really solid at times, I think. But I think the thing that really stands out to me is the attention to detail on the defensive side of the football, and coming from you know having played defense at Woodruff or been on the defense at Woodruff. That's something that I'm really excited to see them get back to. It's really exciting to see some low scores on the other end of the scoreboard. I feel like look, Woodruff has had a reputation for being able to score. I mean, ever since my junior year, when Brian Lane showed up and said, guys, I got this thing called the forward pass, and I think you guys will really dig it. Ever since that, I feel like Woodruff's had a reputation. They can score, but a lot of the problem has come from being able to stop other people. And I was looking it up today. They gave up 27 the other night at Fountain View. Before that game, they had held six straight opponents to 21 points or fewer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I went back and looked in 2023 and 2022 combined. So we're talking two full seasons. They held teams under 21 or under five times, and to do
Mm-hmm.
it six in a row. I mean, that to me is indicative of a culture shift.
Yeah.
Because this in college football, you're not flipping over a roster with 70 new guys. It's the same dudes you had. I mean, I know you get
Yeah.
graduation. I know there's a matriculation through that, but it's the same dudes, and that tells me that there's a shift in the culture with that program. And I think, as we know, that pays dividends, man. When you get to November, especially when you get to November, being able to stop people, that defense will travel. Like the offense, man, when it gets cold and the elements are nasty, and everybody's on equal playing field as far as the talent's concerned. The offense can sometimes stall, but defense travels, and especially travels in the playoffs. So again, I know they've only played two games, but I think to me that's the thing that's most exciting is seeing that standard being set on that side of the ball. And offensively, they've obviously taken care of business, and with what Connor Davis has done at quarterback, two career starts, and one of them comes against the number one team in the state in Clinton, and one of them comes against a very talented Fountain Inn team. And four touchdown, one interception ratio, that'll win you a lot of ball games, and especially
Mm-hmm.
when you don't have to throw it and you can turn around and hand it to a running back like Aiden Gibson. You're going to be in a lot of games. And watching him play, I was trying to think today about the last time. He's led the team in receiving and in rushing the first two games of the year. And I was trying to think of the last time you had a running back at Woodruff that you could put out in the slot and match him up one on one with a safety or a linebacker and go, that's the guy we're throwing the ball to. And I mean,
Yeah.
Dougie Gillum was the last guy I could think of that could do that. Not that I haven't been other really talented running backs that came through, but he's special, dude. And so again, I know you got seven more games left in the regular season, but I'm really excited about what this team looks like so far.
Yeah, it's a really strong start. The second year in a row, starting the season 2-0. And I always tell people in the upstate or people who ask me about football, Woodruff football fans are smart. Okay, when you start the season off 2-0, we have a fan base that understands what's happening. We have a chance to make a run in the playoffs. We have a chance to win a region championship. When you see the products on the field as a Woodruff Wolverine fan, you've got to be excited. We have tons of weapons all over the offensive side of the ball. You add in Cam and Corey, and I'm going to leave some guys out, but not intentionally. But um, when you've got an offense that can be explosive like we have, and then turn around and flip it to the defense and say, "Okay, guys, keep them out of the end zone." Man, that's a incredible safety net. And Coach Sloan and I had mentioned a couple times this year as well the kicking game for Woodruff this year. We have Diego Tranquilino kind of took over the extra, PAT stuff on
Mhm.
Friday. I think he was 5 for 5, I believe, is what the stats said. And um, uh, punting, Jackson McCarley can pin people deep with the punt game. We've got deep kickoffs to the goal line, and those seem like small things, but in the game of high school football, when you give your defense a chance to, uh, you don't give them a short field on a kickoff. You're starting at the 20, the 15 or 20, and you're making the high school offense go 80 yards. Man, that's a huge weapon. So tons of those little pieces of the whole puzzle have been awesome to see come together over the literally the past 2 seasons. And Rixon, if you hadn't met Coach Thomas, our strength and conditioning coach, he's a lot like his one of his predecessors, Coach Andrew Caldwell, in the fact that you talking about the a lot of the same guys coming back this year on defense. Those guys are strong. I mean,
Yeah.
the strides they've made as far as the strength and being able to last longer than your opponent in the fourth quarter. Those things are just invaluable, especially as you push towards playoff time.
Mhm.
And I agree with you 100%. You've been able to visibly see that development over the last couple of years specifically, and being able to give Coach Sloan some time to put his system in. We have a new offensive coordinator this year, but the approach is really similar to what what we have had in the past couple of years as far as the offensive approach. But I just love to see the aggression on defense. I'm with you,
Mhm.
man.
Yeah.
That's something that you love to see each week, and our guys are going out there and putting it on the line each week uh, to try to bring home a W. And the goal is to win them all, right? Win it every week. So that's exactly what this crew is trying to do, is to go out there and win it every week. And I was going to mention you living over here on the east coast of South Carolina. You're kind of in Dillon and Loris country
Mhm.
as far as football goes, and I believe Dillon is number 3 in the media poll this week, and I think Loris came in at number 5 as well. So, any insight from 3A football on this side of the state that you can interject for us from kind of living in the area here?
Yeah, I mean it's nice being back in a little town that likes high school football again. Obviously, I don't have the connection to the programs here, but yeah, I mean Loris last year was really a surprise, I think, to a lot of people to make the run all the way to the upper state championship. I think is how far they went. And then obviously they brought back a lot of guys. They got a very dynamic quarterback this year. Got some size on them too, from the things I've seen and read about them. So I obviously haven't been like going out and watching the games or anything because I'm tuning into the Woodruff Wolverine Sports Network, so I don't have time to go out and watch other teams play. But it's cool to be in that vibe again and to be around an area that's excited about high school football. And this is it's another area where they expect a deep playoff run. They're not any different from Woodruff. They expect to go far. They expect to be standing there at the end of November and to be a player when you get down to the last couple weekends of the season. I think that one of the things you said earlier about this team, and one of the things that I like about what Woodruff has done, and this is not new. This is not a new thing with Coach Sloan, but you know, you talk about the importance of trying to go out and win them all. the thing I've always appreciated about high school ball, and I don't know why it's so different than in other, in other areas or other sports where you have games that don't impact your playoff seeding, but and maybe it's just being, having some of those games against like the close rivals like Clinton and stuff like that. But you know, I love the fact that you opened the year with Clinton. Like I love the fact you opened the year with, whether it's Greer or back in the day when you used to play Abbeville and stuff like that. Like those first 5 games, playing teams that are going to test you, playing teams that, and again, in games that do not matter, like in the long run, like you can go 0-5, it doesn't impact your playoff seeding at all. But the fact that you're playing those games early in the year, and those games matter, like that, you can't like go ask people in Clinton if that game 2 weeks ago mattered. I guarantee it hurt they didn't win that game. Like it
Yeah.
bothers you when you lose those games early in the year that again don't have any impact on where you're going to wind up. But I've always liked that Woodruff, whether it's just from just trying to schedule teams that are expected to be really good, or whether it's you're playing teams in your county that are just naturally your rival and you don't get them in region play. Like I think that pays dividends for you at the end of the year when you're gonna see those tough physical teams, where you're gonna get Powdersville or BHP or whoever you might get at the end of the year. I think that does pay dividends for you that you've been in the fire since late August, early September, as opposed to go out and play 5-1 A teams and sleepwalk through the first 5 weeks of the year, and then you don't know what to do when adversity hits. So I'm interested to see how that pays off for this team because the next 3 weeks, I'll be interested to see what they have to fight through because they've already battled through a lot the first 2 weeks of years, and see how that forges them and gets them ready for what Coach Lane used to call the second, this part two of your season, region play, and ultimately trying to get you to part three in the playoffs.
Yeah, I totally agree with the philosophy of trying to play. You want to play those rival games. You want to keep your Clintons and your Chesneys and those kind of things that went away when realignment happened. You're not in the same region anymore. You're not in the same classification anymore. You want to keep those games because they sell tickets.
Yeah.
And you also want to make sure you keep that Clinton game because they're going to test you till the clock runs out.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to open with Clinton, I think, my personal opinion, Clinton was able to see some things they needed to work on. Woodruff was able to see some things that we needed to work on. But you're exactly right in the fact that by the time you finish the non-region schedule, you should have a pretty good litmus test of what kind of team you have. And you want to go in and win the region if at all possible, specifically for playoff seeding purposes. Because if you get that number one seed coming out of the region, it sets you up for, well, number one, you can host pretty much, depending on the bracket, you can host pretty much all the way through the playoffs, which is a huge advantage. And I mean, as well as I do, playing at WL Varner Stadium in the playoffs at home is a huge advantage over having to travel on the road. So that's one of the things that you want to make sure that you could possibly lock up, with a team like we have this year. Those guys are going out there. We're looking to win. That's the second season. We're
Yeah.
looking to win the second season. Get make sure we play as well as we can these first 5 games of the season. And since we play a week 0 game, we'll have a bye this season as well as last season, which is kind of a different thing. You have to work through taking a complete week off. But by the time you beat and bang through those first 5 games, from what Coach Sloan and some of the other coaches have told me, it's nice to have that little window of time to take a break, regroup, kind of get ready for region, and revive and recharge a little bit before you go into uh, that stretch of region games that means so much for where you get seated in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And but we've got several teams on this non-region schedule. Several 4A teams as well that help us, in my opinion, um, it's going to help shape us as we go into the region to be able to see, teams like well, we just played Fountain Inn. Fountain Inn's a 4A team in that region with Westside, and we went toe to toe with a really good, mobile quarterback in Sam Holiday, and he's not the last. He's not the last one we're going to see over the next few games. So, but we I know Coach Sloan is. Those guys are out there working every day to make sure our kids are as well prepared as possible to be able to play to our best of our ability, utilize the best um, combination of players that we've got, so that we give ourselves the best chance to win. Well, Rixon, what else is going on in your world? Anything going on new with your podcast coming up that we should know about?
Yeah, I actually just put out a recap of the Virginia Tech game out. I think it went out this afternoon, actually, about an hour before we went on the air. So it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Spotify. It's called Believe, BLEAV, in South Carolina. Like I said, we talk about the games that happened, preview stuff coming up. Try to make it a little more, try to approach it from some different angles. Look into some numbers, some trends. I'm a stat dork, always have been. So I enjoy looking at stuff from that standpoint, and also going to try to maybe get some guests lined up here as season goes on. Got a couple of projects that are under wraps right now, but really excited to maybe be able to promote those later down the road. But yeah, right now just looking at getting ready for Saturday for South Carolina State, and then beyond that with Vanderbilt coming up to open SEC play in 2 weeks. And boy, the SEC slate looks a lot different now than it did about 5 days ago, before some of these teams already played. Some of these games are a lot harder, and some of them, Alabama, look like they may be a little bit easier than you thought. So we'll see how that plays out.
Oh man, yeah, that's a point of contention in the SEC right now. So we'll just have to see how that pans out. I just say never count them out, though. It could be a miraculous turnaround. Who knows?
Or maybe Florida State's the best team in the country. We can't discount the possibility that Florida State's just better than everybody, and Alabama just played the eventual national champions and lost. Who knows?
Could be. I wouldn't want to see them in the ACC. I think they've got something to prove this year, and it could get pretty dicey in the ACC the way Florida State's playing, the way they showed whatever they showed in Game 1 anyway.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean that who knows? I mean, they could be on an SMU-ish run this year, or maybe Alabama's just not good and Florida State winds up being the 7-win team. Who knows? It's so hard to tell from week one, and B from, man, all these teams got 40 new players. Like every one of them's got
Mhm.
40 new guys. So who knows if anybody's really that good or not? And we'll find it'll all come out in the wash. But yeah, week one was certainly interesting. There were plenty of teams that looked a lot different than I thought they would, both positively and negatively. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
Well, that's the one thing, comparative to high school football and college football that kind of bugs me a little bit is the fact that you open up Clemson versus LSU, you open up Alabama versus FSU, and neither one of those teams has any idea other than, inter squad scrimmages as as to really what they have. And you can't, to me, I don't ever think that you can tell with inter squad scrimmages. It's super difficult to tell on the college level what exactly you have, and you're throwing in these high profile games in week one and expected to win. But that, I think that's why you see some of these 10-7 games, or 14-10 games, because some of these teams literally are just they're just now trying to figure it out, what personnel is going to work best. You're shifting through some offensive linemen. What combo of offensive linemen are going to work? But defense is always going to be probably ahead of the offense anyway. But that's the only thing that kind of dislike about the college game is the fact that you don't get any of that scrimmage time to kind of get an idea of really what you look like and what you need to improve on. You have to win or lose that high profile game in week one that could hurt you later on. So I don't really agree with that, but not, maybe you have a take on that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard too because at the college level and especially, man, especially the G5 level. I mean, I used to hear coaches talk about this all the time. I mean, you get into August, you might not know who your roster is yet because you still got guys coming in. I mean, we have. I remember at Eastern Kentucky, we had a year where a starting defensive end showed up 4 days before the first game. I mean, you had no idea what you were going to have. If it's going to be eligible. I mean, you're facing all sorts of stuff, and so that makes it more complicated. And then the other thing that I worry about is how many of these coaches are going to go to their ads at one point and say, especially these guys in the one of the Power Four conferences where you're playing now 9 conference games, how many of them are going to go to the ads and say, hey guys, like this doesn't benefit us? Like, I mean, we've already got 9 quote unquote hard games on the schedule. Why would I go out and play another P4 team at a neutral site or a home and home when for a lot of these guys you've got your 9 conference games locked in. A lot of them have a locked in rivalry game with another people, whether that's Carolina Clemson or Kentucky Louisville or Florida State. You've got to play that game. That's 10 right there. And now you're going to take one of my other 2 slots, and I'm going to go play Baylor, or I'm going to go play Auburn. Nah, I'll play McNeese State, or I'll play whoever random FCS directional school, and we'll ease into it there, and I'll win that game. And because the other thing, I think that factors into that is, I mean, the playoff committee kind of showed you last year. Doesn't matter who you beat, just matters that you beat them.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't really any sort of credence given to the strength of schedule last year with some of the teams that got in, some of the teams that got left out. So why would I risk another L when I've already got 10 of my games or 9 of my games locked in? I want wins, and who cares who they come from? I mean, look who Indiana played last year, and
Yeah.
not picking on them, but like th- that schedule wasn't that schedule. There are 80% of P4 teams I think could have won 10 games with that schedule, but they played it and they got in the playoffs. So why wouldn't you make it as easy on yourself as possible getting the playoff? That's why I worry. As cool as this weekend was with all these like high profile games, I'm worried that's going to go away because coaches and ads are going to go, this isn't worth it.
Mhm. Well, the thing that I see changing, the SEC announced the 9 game. Uh, uh, they're basically saying you have to play 9 games in the conference. So
Yep.
that's going to eliminate some of uh, your Furmans and your SC States and some of those, 1AA schools. Those games are going to go away for sure because you just can't really. You're not going to be really afford to be able to play those anymore. Uh, so I don't know. We could talk about that all day, I guess, but um, we've got Coach Brett Sloan coming here in just a few minutes. But 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 Rixon, thanks, man, so much for giving us your time and giving us your insight. Always great to talk with you. Always great to have you on the show. Whenever you're in town, and I know your mom's, hinting and hoping and winking and hoping that you guys move back to the upstate at some point. But if you're back in the upstate, we'd love to have you live in person sometime.
Always enjoy, man. I love tuning in every week. Appreciate what you guys are doing.
All right. Thanks again, Rixon. And we will talk to you again, and hopefully before the end of the season, man.
Appreciate it, Brad. Thank you.
All right. Take care. All right, guys. We're about to bring in Coach Brett Sloan. And as you can tell, we are not live at Tap 3 this week. We are doing a remote podcast for this week. Um, just now, I think Coach Sloan has just joined us just a couple of seconds ago. So we're going to go ahead and bring him on. Coach Sloan, how are you, man?
I'm okay. How are you, Brad?
I'm making it, bud. Did you guys have a good day of practice?
Yeah, we had a good day. We it wasn't our best day ever, but we had a good day. So it was a pretty productive practice. So no complaints.
Nice. Well, Coach, you are 2-0 going into week three. How does it feel to be 2-0 for 2 years in a row? I know it's gotta feel good for the work you guys put in to reap the benefits of all that work.
Well, look, it's a whole lot better than being 0-2. That's for sure. At this point in the year, it's like I told the team today. You really don't quite yet know who's good and who's not good. In my opinion, it's just you got to see how things play out, and we're fortunate that we're pretty talented, and because we haven't been clean in a lot of aspects of football, but neither has Clinton or Fountain Inn in a lot of aspects too. And we found a way to win, and I love the way we're competing right now. We're competing our hearts out, and we're finding ways to win. And I kind of interested to see how we progress as the year goes on, and see where we're at just from an execution standpoint and things like that. But look, it's hard to win, and we're grateful and we're thankful. And something I talk to them all the time about is never lose the appreciation for how hard it is to win and enjoy it. Because it doesn't happen every week. So.
For sure. Uh, Coach, so this past week we faced a pretty mobile quarterback in Sam Holiday. He tested the defense a little bit as we went through the game. Not only with his arm, but he definitely could pull the ball down and run. How do you guys feel about the defense's response to that type of mobile quarterback, that type of offense?
I was really pleased with him on. Overall, I was very pleased. I think we held him. I think if I remember right, he was 11 for 30 passing, which is pretty good because he's a high level quarterback. He's a really good football player. I would say that the things that we have to work on and clean up are just staying in our rush lanes, some things that we addressed and talked about last week. There were some times where we had them in third and long. When you like to see yourself get off the field defensively, and we would get out of our rush lane or this, that, and the other, or something broke down. And one time we left somebody in coverage and gave up a long completion. So there's some things there that we need to work on. But overall, I thought we played really well. I mean, they scored 48 points the week before. We held them to 20 under that. So can't be disappointed in that overall. I thought we played really hard. I thought we played really physical. There's some discipline and do your job stuff that we got to clean up. But man, I think if we continue to improve and continue to address those things, we got a chance to be pretty good on defense. So.
Yes, sir. Let me just mention a couple of defensive stats from this past week. We had three players with double-digit tackles: Jalen Robertson with 12, Sean Graybill with 12, Adrian Hill with 10. Also had Ty Moats with an interception. So those are your workhorse guys on defense, making their presence known, so to speak. When you're talking double-digit tackles on a Friday night, Coach, that's you're putting in a lot of work.
Oh yeah, I mean we had some guys who played at a really high level. We really did, and we like I said, most of the defense for most of the game played really well. It's just little spurts here and there where we gave up big plays, and that's easy to do with a guy like him because you say, well, we got to keep him in the pocket. Well, that's easier said than done. Because he's a pretty good athlete. He's like a running back when he takes off. He really is, and he makes things difficult on you. And they're going to score a lot of points on a lot of people. So I thought we did a great job. Sean did a great job in the middle. Jordan Hood did a fantastic job. Really did a great job of being physical in the run game. Adrian Hill, he did a great job of sliding over the nose, something that he hadn't really done a lot of. And he did a great job there. So I was proud of those guys. And like I said, you got to tip your hat to the secondary. I mean, 11 for 30 against that quarterback of that caliber. I mean, that's pretty good. That's a good night. So.
Yes, sir. Super proud of those guys. We've said it 100 times. People are super proud of defense in Woodruff and being able to limit the points on the scoreboard. Woodruff Wolverine fans get excited about that each week. That our defense can show up and hold these teams to as little amount of points as humanly possible. Right.
That's right.
So, Coach, let's move on to the Emerald Vikings this week. We're traveling down to Greenwood to play the Emerald Vikings this week. Give us an idea, Coach, of what Emerald's going to bring to the table for us this week.
Well, I mean, they're extremely athletic. They got some guys who can really run. The running back can score from anywhere on the field. They got a slot receiver who's really good. I think the quarterback's a really good young player. I think he's just a 10th grader, and he runs well with it too. So we'll have to defend another runner. You'll get a little bit of triple option out of them at times on offense. Out of some what we call inverted wishbone. So it's you'll have a quarterback in the shotgun and two backs beside him and then one behind him in the pistol. So we'll see some of that and see some triple option type stuff off of that. A lot of screen game, a lot of screen and go stuff. They're trying to suck you up, make you play the flats really hard, and then when you overcommit to it, they're going to try to sneak stuff behind you and hit big plays on you. So extremely athletic on offense and defense. I feel like their defense lines really solid. They got two interior guys who I think are very good players. Their linebackers are good players. Their ends are good players. So they're good in the box. A little bit inexperienced on the back end with some new starters back there, but they can run. They run well. They're a talented football team. They're a very dangerous, very scary football team. Coach DeBose and those guys do a really good job. They do a good job getting their athletes in space. And I think that they do a really good job of running to the football and playing with great effort on defense. So it's going to be a challenge. They're a good football team. They played 8 quarters and they've given up 7 points in 8 quarters. So you're not bad on defense when you're giving up 3.5 a game. So
for sure. And Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 2 years ago at Emerald. We came down. I think the game came down to a
2-point conversion play.
You were either going to kick or go for 2.
No, I was going for 2, but there was no thought of kicking. But
right,
yeah, we scored with no time on the clock, and were able to go win it on a 2-point play. And it was a lot of fun. It was a fun moment. So, they're the type of team you don't want to be in a fourth quarter game with them, man, because they can really score quickly on you. It just takes one missed tackle or one person not fitting their gap and things like that. So we got to be really disciplined. But yeah, last time we went down there, it was an interesting night. It was a heck of a ball game. It was one of the most exciting finishes I've ever been a part of, for sure. So.
Right. Last year we had a kind of a walk-off field goal with Fountain Inn, and then the year before we had that 2-point conversion play to end the game. So Woodruff Wolverine fans, if you're out there listening, please make sure to travel to Greenwood this coming Friday. Support our guys because of the fact that you never know. It could come down to a last-second field goal or a 2-point play from Coach Sloan to try to win it in the last few seconds of the game. So I want to encourage everybody to load up, go down to Emerald, support our guys coming this Friday as we take on the Emerald Vikings. Coach, what else is new in the Woodruff Wolverines football world this week?
Not a whole lot new. I mean, yesterday was Labor Day practice, so that was a little bit different. But it's just a typical. Today was Tough Tuesday for us, and we were pretty physical and we got after it. And we're just looking to kind of offensively. I think we're looking to kind of catch our stride a little bit and start executing a little bit and things like that. But it's been a pretty typical week so far. So I hope it stays that way. you want your preparation to be the same each and every week. You look for consistency. Usually, when you have consistent preparation, you have consistent performance. So, hopefully, it stays that way. So,
yes, sir. We this coming up around this time last year, you have to sort of reflect back a little bit on the craziness of the Hurricane Helene thing that happened, which is
yeah,
completely,
we hadn't had anything that crazy here lately. So,
yeah, for
but
sure, completely
it's,
unprecedented, and unplanned change of schedule last year. We're hoping and praying that we can avoid anything like that coming
yeah,
up
that
this year, for
I mean,
sure.
we've had good cool weather for it to be, the second day of September. I'll say that's been a welcome change. It's usually still about 90 degrees, and it's been really nice. We've had good practices. We've got to continue to have good practices. So
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, I appreciate you jumping in and talking with us as always for your insight on our Woodruff Wolverines. And man, once again, I just want to reiterate to everybody out there watching: load up and drive down to Emerald on Friday.
hey,
Support these
it's two
guys.
2-0 football teams. It's two undefeated football teams. So it should be a lot of fun Friday night. It should be another really exciting atmosphere, and another good challenge for us and the Wolverines, right? So
Yes, sir. On our quest for 3-0 coming up this Friday. Make sure you guys go down and support our guys. Coach, as always, I know you put in a long day. We appreciate you coming in, talk football with us on a Tuesday night. A little bit of different setup tonight. Obviously not at Tap 3, but thankful for technology and our ability to be able to make it happen one way or the other. And thank you for
that's
being
right.
flexible for that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it. Okay. So,
Yes, sir. Well, Coach,
yep.
we're going to let you go. Have a good evening, and we'll catch up with you this Friday evening down at Emerald.
That's right. Go Wolverines.
Yes, sir. Take care, Coach.
See you, Brad. Thank you, buddy.
Okay, guys, you heard it straight from Coach Sloan. We're looking for a 2-0 versus 2-0 matchup down in Greenwood this Friday night, 7:30 at Emerald High School. It's going to be a great game down there. So thank you guys all for tuning in on a Tuesday night. Once again, we are not at Tap 3. We will be back at Tap 3 next Tuesday. That is the plan for the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. Thank you always for tuning in, and we appreciate you guys' support each Tuesday for the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. And always appreciate your support for Woodruff High School football and Woodruff High School athletics. Take care, guys. We're going to sign off, and we will see you guys next week live at Tap 3, Main Street, Woodruff, South Carolina. Take care. Have a good evening.